I'm trying to think about our viewers. They probably are listening to our past couple short answers and questions and answers, and they're probably thinking, okay, well, how does it have to do with real estate? So I want to conclude in saying that our clients, obviously, before they're making the decision on a neighborhood, I can't start working with them before they tell us where do they want to live. And this is where you come into play. So how do we take all this information that we just spoke about both job opportunities, career opportunities, and volunteering, which basically turns into how do we choose our community? How does one do that from abroad, or even while they're renting here for a couple of years before they reach out to me and all my agents and say, okay, this is where I want to live?
So finding a community is difficult, right? Oftentimes, if we look at where we're from in our respective countries of origin, we stay in the same communities we were born in, and our parents often did the same, or they moved completely different, and mainly because of jobs, opportunities, not necessarily for anything else. Again, moving to Israel affords us a unique chance to restart at least part of our lives, if not entirely. In my own experience, in 14 plus years being here, the core group of Western Olim, of these Olim by choice, has shifted, right? It used to be Jerusalem was the default destination if you were coming from the West, whether you were religious or secular, single or married. Now it's Tel Aviv and the Tel Aviv, Gush Dan metropolitan area. A lot of things have changed that you're really only going to get a feel for when you're here, when you are not on an organized trip, when you're having to deal with things on your own, the realities of being on your own, whether that's paying bills, going to the supermarket, everyday life, and you start to get to a feel for it, as well as not just what there is, but equally important, and this is where I think social initiative comes in, what's missing, and what can I bring to a community, whether you're here in Tel Aviv, especially here in Tel Aviv, what can I bring here that I don't see? What can I do that supplements what is already here? What types of people do I want to be surrounded by on a regular basis? It's not just the trappings of a city. And I know that also, I'm sure that's the case for a lot of your clients, right? They're coming from suburban backgrounds and now they're moving to Tel Aviv. Isn't exactly a metropolitan city in a global sense, but it is for Israel. So that is also a change for people. There's a lot of lifestyle choices when you move to Israel that we don't necessarily think about. Usually, at least if you're just stuck on social media, for example, you're looking at, is this a family-oriented community? Is it a Jewishly observant community or not? That's only part of what it means to live somewhere. There's so much more into it. And part of that is, what's the ethos of my community? How do they feel a part of Israeli society, if at all? Do they identify even as Israeli? I speak to so many Olim through my social initiatives, and it's one of the reasons I, in fact, started one of them, the Here and There Club, because I hear from so many Olim by choice who moved here, whether it's halfway around the world or wherever, still don't define themselves as Israeli. You know, they made Aliyah, they have full citizenship, they're equal citizens under the law, and still haven't internalized their identity now. And as an extension, Sabras, native Israelis, don't call them Israeli either.
Actually, it's an interesting point what you just said. My wife moved here in 2007, and I think she's a very, very Israeli, but she has a lot of American personality in her as well. So in Israel, some of her co-workers and friends would call her the American, where in the U.S., I feel like she's known as the Israeli also as well. So it goes on both sides.
It goes both ways, and also that's part of being an immigrant, right? We forget that the term Aliyah still means immigration. And the process of immigration that our grandparents and great-grandparents had 3-4 generations ago, North America and Western Europe, applied to us now in the 21st century, which is odd. It's weird. We don't call ourselves, we're used to calling ourselves expats and not immigrants because there's a little bit of a class issue. But we face the same issues that immigrants did way back when.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Jay, this was lovely. This is very interesting as usual.
My pleasure.
Jay, again, helps us and helps fellow Olim by choice to both go smooth through the Aliyah process with the job opportunities, also with volunteering. I definitely suggest to follow the Here and There Club. We actually held together the last and first ever debate in Tel Aviv for the municipality elections. We'll definitely do that again in about 2 years from now.
2 years.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward. Besides that, Hayati. I like it, even though you asked me not to say. I'm going to say it. It's strengthen every global step you take in style.
Well said.
Guys, thank you for being with us. Cheers.